Yeah, any villains that might have tried to persuade us to do otherwise. Now, I won't go on. There's so much that I've written down here about Ryanair and everything else. But I'm glad that I knew Jim, and there was so much about his life that I still don't know about. But yes, he was one of the most interesting characters that I have ever met in my life, and he should be Jim Radford, MBE. My best endeavours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mick. That's wonderful, Mick. Thank you very much. Keith Ferris will say a few words, and then we will move on to. Well, okay.
As Mick just said, prepared notes 2 minutes ago. Yeah, as Mick just said, I too am so privileged to have known him. I think, so I can talk about him as a friend. I wasn't involved in any campaigns like his CMDs and his Veterans for Peace and all of that. I just knew him as my mate. I just mate Jim. We started off probably some distance apart. When I first knew Jim, he had to overcome a deep suspicion of singers bearing guitars, because he really liked sea shanties, or he seemed to me to prefer sea shanties and ploughing songs from Oxford, and he's very suspicious about people bearing guitars who sang songs about Plumstead, and they weren't protest songs, but I think it was. I was playing a song one night and I heard Jenny. They were sitting in the audience, and Jenny said, "I really like that song." And Jim looked, "Oh, is he? Oh, right, okay." And from that point on, he started listening. And then I got a phone call. How would I like to go to his house for a party? And we got on like house on fire, and I'm so glad about that, because what a mate he was. And that's how I think of Jim, not national hero and all things like that, which he was, but my first instinct to think of Jim is what a mate he was. I mean, he used to phone me up if he hadn't seen me for a long while, a few weeks. He'd phone me up. "Are you all right? Yeah. Is Jackie all right? Is Jessica all right?" Go around the family, and he's been over to my house many times. Of course, dinners, parties, sing songs, rehearsals. I mean, the places I got to with Jim, it was like he was the big attraction, of course. Westminster Abbey wanted him to go and play with him. Blame me if you don't phone me and take me along. Now, what kind of mate is that? I mean, he's wanted by the Navy organisations and the Air Force and all of this. And there we were standing. I'm playing the guitar. And Jim's singing away. I'm looking around Westminster Abbey thinking, not many people get to play the guitar in Westminster Abbey. Around we're standing around the tomb of the unknown warrior. All of the rest of the audience were Air Chief Marshal so-and-so, First Sea Lord of the so-and-so. And there's I'm standing, And so, but that's a mate Jim was, come on, you can come with me. So, a generous friend, that's what I'm trying to say. Boy, was he a generous friend. He had all the time in the world. And if he could share what light was shining on him justly, he'd take me along and all. We played Naval College and so on. Anyway, and he was the kind of friend eventually where as soon as I see him, it seems like I'd seen him 5 minutes ago. And I think of the times when he'd walk into a packed, crowded, big pub, and he'd know nearly everybody in there, but he'd look across and say, "Ah, there you are, Mr. Ferris, I've got something to talk to you about," and little instances like he would consult me about what song he could come up with. He said, "I need a song, it's got to be an anti-war song." It's got to be easy to learn. Maybe a school song, something everyone knows. Because I want the Veterans for Peace to sing it at the Cenotaph. I said, what Remembrance Sunday? Yeah, it's about 2 weeks' time. I said, as luck would have it, I could come up with Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Yeah, good idea, mate. And I went up there and saw them. And sure enough, the Veterans for Peace all sang Where Have All the Flowers Gone at the Cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday. And I thought, oh, there's a little bit of me going on there, you know, because and I don't know where I got the idea for that one from, because I hadn't sung it since 40 years before, but it happened to, I struck lucky that minute. It comes as a shock when he died, no doubt about that, because, you know, all of a sudden he was plucked from me. You know, as a bloke I used to phone regularly, you know, quite often, you know, we've just got on things, and suddenly he was gone. And to add a little bit of extra sadness to it, we couldn't say goodbye to him. We couldn't, you know, here we are now a year later, but at the time it was, God, it seems so unfair, so it was wrong. Anyway, we're all here now, and we all remember Jim, and Jim will go on and on and on, won't you, Jim? Yeah, all right, Jim. Yeah, it's all good. So, well, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Nick, for organising, and let's enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Keith. Got Jim's Jolly Jammers up on stage again. No, wait, this is Dave Silk. Dave Silk. Where's Dave? Dave? Are you here? There you are. I just want to say a few words. Where's my notes?
There's a note to tell him to remember where he put his notes.
Yeah, a note to remember my notes. The lighting here, again, I want to acknowledge Andy and Andrew who set up all these lights. You might notice that the lighting, blue and white, is the colours of Veterans for Peace. So many thanks to Andy and Andrew for thinking of that. There's, up on the bar, there's a big blow-up of an article I wrote for Folk of London on Jim, which you're welcome to read. There's also a copy of the magazine SE1, London SE1, Blackfriars Settlement, where Jim was the warden, where Joanna lived, and Steve upstairs. And that's Jim and I first met on campaigns against the Vietnam War, and then campaigns against homelessness in Southeast 1. That show is still on at Blackfriars Settlement, and it continues at Morley College Gallery. There's also an item from Bloomsbury Press, the website up there on the bar, about Song for Stephen Lawrence, which launched the book The Untouchables, Racism and Corruption in Scotland Yard, the book on that subject. It was Jim was at the launch of that book, and the launch of the issue of that book, second edition, and he sang for both. So there's an item there from Bloomsbury Press about that, and also an interview I did with Jim on the subject. Where are we at now? Jim's Jolly Jammers are going to do something that I've really been looking forward to. They've been working very hard on it. And it's their medley of Jim songs. This is...
It's medley time. Wow. Good luck to all of us.
Yes, good luck.
Right, thank you very much. Wow, that's Jim's Jolly Jammers from the Jolly Farmers. Glasgow, and Neil Banerjee, Jacqueline Grant. And we're missing Gillian, who's in Barbados. So,
Exile.
this is for you. Yeah?
Oh.
He's a patch. You're a pirate. This man's a pirate. Here.
Smallest space mask I've ever seen.
I think so, yeah. So, this is one of Jim's songs that you all know. Hi. loses an ear. Well, being a pirate, all fun and games. Somebody loses their ear. It trips down your neck, flips on the deck. So somebody shouts, oh, that's here. You can't wear your glasses. You can't pull the lasses. Your mates have to shout, so you're here. Being a pirate is all fun and games. Somebody loses their ear. It's all part of being a pirate, pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your heart. It's all part of being a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your heart. Well, being a pirate is all fun and games. Somebody loses their eye. It stings like the blazes, it makes you make faces. You can't let your mates see you cry. Dashing black patch, cover the hatch. Make sure your socket stays dry. Being a pirate is all fun and games. Somebody loses their eye. It's all part of being a pirate, a pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your heart. It's all part of being a pirate, a pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your parts. Well, being a pirate is all fun and games, so somebody loses their hand. Oh, yeah, it squirts and it spurts and it jolly well hurts. Pain only a pirate can stand. A bright shiny hook is a fashionable look, but then you can play in the band. Being a pirate is all fun and games, so somebody loses that hand. It's all part of being a pirate, a pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your heart. It's all part of being a pirate, a pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your heart. Well, being a pirate is all fun and games. Somebody loses their leg. It hurts like the dickens, your pace never quickens, cause now you can't kneel down and beg. Ask your sweetheart to marry, but too long you tarry. Yeah. Cause now you can't kneel down and beg. Being a pirate is all fun and games, so somebody loses their leg. Oh, it's all part of being a pirate, a pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your heart. Oh, it's all part of being a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your parts. Well, being a pirate is all fun and games, so somebody loses their thing. He didn't choose it, he didn't want to lose it. Now when he misses and he uses it, it stings. And the doc comes along and he sews it back on. It just doesn't have the same pring. Being a pirate is all fun and games, so somebody loses their thing. Oh, it's all right being a pirate, a pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your heart. Oh, it's all right being a pirate, a pirate, a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all your parts. It makes me quite irate. You can't be a pirate with all your parts. Pirate man. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I'll leave you being a pirate.
We now have Keith Ferris with one of Jim's most famous and wonderful songs, Merchant Seaman. Keith Ferris.
Yours, Nick.
Oh yeah. Jim on this to
Jim always makes a verse or two.
Will you join in?
Yep.
In C, if you like that.
I'll be great. You too?
It's not too tricky.
Oh, well, there we go.
I did mention earlier on that Jim and I had played at name dropping at Westminster Abbey.
Wow. Name dropper.
Jim played. I'm on about this, you know. And this is what we played. You heard the tune to it earlier on. I'm afraid I do need the prompt sheet here because being with Jim, you let him do all sea shanties. You tend to. Anyway, this is it. Called the Merchant Seaman, and it went down very well at Westminster Abbey, I'll tell you. I didn't applaud though, by the way. A different occasion altogether. There's a rainbow faintly gleaming through the grey skies of old England to welcome the homeward bounder on the day of his return. The dockyard cranes upward with a distant siren booming, while the dockyard matey scurry to take his heaving line. There's a cold nor'easter squalling, a drizzling rain a falling, but there's naught can damp the spirits. Now he's reached the shores of home. For he's been through hell and danger, to them he is no stranger. In the cruel North Atlantic, he's seen men and ships go down. Now there's wives and sweethearts waiting, they'll soon be celebrating, for Jack is home from sea, he has left the killing ground. And as he walks the streets of Liverpool, Cardiff, Hull and London town, he'll pass 1,000,000 people there. Some of them may frown, for he doesn't wear a uniform that tells you what he's done. He's just the merchant seaman that we all depend on. Too soon his short time's over, he must sail again. Now there's tears among his loved ones who know the risk he's run, for he must run that U-boat gauntlet as he has done before, where thousands of his shipmates sleep on that dark ocean floor. Now there's a bloody battle raging on the cold Atlantic foam, and one in every four like him will now be coming home. Yes, he's been through hell and danger, to them he is no stranger. In the cruel North Atlantic he's seen men and ships go down, and for the wives and sweethearts waiting, there'll be no celebrating till Jack is home from sea. He has left the killing ground. And as he walks the streets of Liverpool, Cardiff, Hull, London town, he'll pass 1,000,000 people there. Some of them may frown, for he doesn't wear a uniform to tell you what he's done. He's just a merchant seaman that we all depend upon. Now he's from Glasgow, he's from Belfast, Swansea and Yarmouth town, from the Humber and from Tyneside, wherever ships are found. And he sails on tramps and tankers, in freighters old and new, in liners and in coasters, in tugs and trawlers too. And he sails on every ocean, and he braves the raging sea, to keep our lifelines open and to keep this island free. And as he sails through hell and danger. To them he is no stranger. From the Arctic to Pacific, he's seen men and ships go down. For the wives and sweethearts waiting, there'll be no celebrating till Jack is home from sea. He's left the killing ground. If you go to Liverpool, Cardiff, Hull, London town, you'll find him in the dockside pubs where sailors hang around. But he doesn't wear a uniform to tell you what he's done. He's just the merchant seaman we all depend upon. He's the British merchant seaman that we all depend upon.
Thank you.
Incidentally, the rugby club MD out there, he said how much he likes all of this. He likes the folk being here. And
yeah, great.
We've got a good endorsement from them.
Thank you.
He collared me out there and said,
yeah. Big club. Right. Thank you very much, Keith. And we'll see Keith Friday night.
No, I've got to get the tune.
Dave Cunningham. Dave Cunningham.
I ain't done it yet. Because I always wanted to do one of Jim's songs. I said to Jim, do you think I can do one of your songs one day? He said, yeah, never get the tune right. He said, don't worry, I'll stand next to you when you're doing it. So, yeah, here we go. And this is when we went to Dublin, didn't we, Sue and Mike?
We did.
I can't remember much about it, but we did go. Unfortunately, Jim didn't, and he took his word umbrage about not going. So he still, I've got to look that word up. I don't know what it means. But
It's a place near Uxbridge, I think.
umbrage near Uxbridge. Yeah, where? Anyway, I'll go with it. Ready? Right. One day I'll go across the sea to Ireland, but I won't be flying out with Ryanair. 'Cause they buggered me about all day at Stansted, and it seemed to me they really just did not care. Well, that night we planned to sing and play in Dublin. Instead I got back home at 1:30. I was 30 quid and 10 hours out of pocket. I'll never fly with Ryanair again. We got there and was told an hour before the flight time, and in due course sat down upon the plane. But 3 hours late we were still there sitting, when he told us we mustn't disembark again. They hadn't told the people at the airport, so we could get back in for quite a while, and we queued at ruddy barriers and counters, until some of us were getting rather wild. Then they told us that they'll fly us out but later, so we waited and we listened all day long, but with information they were quite parsimonious, and most of what they did tell us was wrong. For it seemed there was a baggage strike in Dublin, for the workers of the union wished to join, but Ryanair was most unaccommodating, so they had to close the bloody airport down.
You'll go.
He's doing all right, isn't he? Well, our friends in Dublin and back home in London knew more than us what was going on, because the world was told on radio and TV. It seemed that Ryanair forgot to switch it on. Then the man whose turn it was to make announcements took umbrage when informed we couldn't hear. He told one lady that this airport is non-smoking. She said non-bloody flying to Ivy. That was a good line you wrote. They didn't offer us a flight to Cork or Shannon, or even say we're sorry for this mess. But they did give us a £3.50 voucher, which left me feeling slightly unimpressed. So if you ever go across the sea to Ireland, it may be when your eyes are growing dim, fly with BA, Aer Lingus or with Virgin. As for Ryanair, I'd sooner bloody swim.
Dave, that was great. Brilliant, Dave. Thank you very much. I've got now Con, and then John, and then Tony. Con, here's Con.
You alright? Okay, sort yourself out.
Do you want me to drink or
Still got your props here, isn't it?
You actually put the chair on his thing.
Oh,
You know, it's made a few of us cringe.
It fits in with the song, doesn't it?
It stings.
Right, I've got the words and a picture of Jimmy here to inspire me. Right, so. I only met Jim probably 3 or 4 times here, but when lockdown started, he used to come into my and sing in my front room every Wednesday on Zoom. So I got to know him quite well. And this is one of the songs he used to sing. I hope I can do it justice. Overseas in Flanders, the sun was setting low. We tramp for feet and jangle, I hear the gun teams go. When something seems to set me a-dreaming as I lay on my old Yorkshire village at the dying of the day. And it's home, boys, home, all amongst the corn and clover. Home, boys, home, when the working day is over, where there's rest for horse and man. When the longest day is done and we'll all go home together at the setting of the sun. Round the thatched gardens blooming with lily and with rose, and the river past them flowing, so quietly it goes. The fields of oats and barley, and the elder flowers like foam, and the sky all gold with sunset, and the horses going home. And it's home, boys, home, all amongst the corn and clover. Home, boys, home, when the working day is over, where there's rest for horse and man. When the longest day is done and we'll all go home together at the setting of the sun. Gone is many a horse now, and many a lad gone too, of all the lads and horses from the green fields that we knew. Dick fell at Givenchy, the prince beside the guns, on that blood-red road to glory, a mile or 2 from home. And it's home, boys, home, all amongst the corn and clover. Home, boys, home, when the working day is over, where there's rest for horse and man. When the longest day is done and we'll all go home together at the setting of the sun. Oh, Captain Box the traveller,
I see them all so plain. I see them and I know them, and I call them all by name. They ride down to harvest when the sun sets all aglow, and the lads are sitting sideways and singing as they go. And they're singing, home, boys, home, all amongst the corn and clover. Home, boys, home, when the working day is over, where there's rest for horse and man, and the working day is done, and we'll all go home together at the setting of the sun. And we'll all go home together at the setting of the sun.
Thank you very much, Con. And it's now John Davison.
Behind you.
Behind me. He's there. I'm very pleased that John Davison is here to read to us.
Well, Keith's already reminded us, of course, that the merchant navy is crucial, not just in the Second World War, but the interrelationship between the merchant fleet and our well-being is not appreciated. Even now, of course, we realise how dependent we are on the commercial fleet, especially during the accidental blockade of the Suez Canal. And it was only a matter of weeks ago that I discovered that the Atlantic conveyor was deliberately turned to port to protect HMS Hermes during the Falklands campaign, and indeed she took the damage and saved the men on Hermes. This is about the North Atlantic. It's a slightly jovial song, but Jim was never one to draw the line between modern humour and authentic traditional music. That was one of his great strengths. He didn't put us into cubby holes. This is a poem by Les Barker, fairly famous on the folk circuit. And Les, again, is another one of those English icons that looks for commonality, not for the boundaries between genre. So this is about a tale of the North Atlantic, one of our famous liners that came a cropper. It's called Any News of the Iceberg, and it's by Les Barker. On a cold, rainy night on a Liverpool quayside in the years before the Great War, the world was in shock at the loss of Titanic. So proud had they been days before. Relatives gathered for news of their loved ones to read through the list of the dead, when into the throng came a sad-eyed polar bear, and to the clerk at the counter he said, "Have you got any news of the iceberg? My family were on it, you see. Have you got any news of the iceberg? They mean the whole world to me. My wife and my children were coming from Greenland to be by my side at the zoo. Belinda's my wife, and the eldest called Bernard. And Billy, well, he's only 2. I know on the ship there were hundreds of people, and I know that the iceberg's not yours." The polar bear's eyes held the start of his teardrops. He covered his face with his paws. "Have you got any news of the iceberg? My family were on it, you see. Have you got any news of the iceberg? They mean the whole world to me. It's been over a year since I last saw my children. I left home to build a career. I've worked very hard. I'm a star in the circus. It's all been for nothing, I fear. There's my face on the poster. We're in town this week. My children were meeting me here. Everyone watched as he struggled to speak, as his paw brushed away one more tear. Have you got any news of the iceberg? My family were on it, you see. Have you got any news of the iceberg? They mean the whole world to me. By now all the people had gathered beside him. His grief was one they could share. The people around him in silence and sadness listened to that polar bear. I wanted my children to see me performing, and Belinda, she would have been proud. At last, lost for words and his tears flowing freely, the question was asked by the crowd. Have you got any news of the iceberg? My family were on it, you see. Have you got any news of the iceberg? They mean the whole world to me.
Thank you very much, John. We now have Connie Clark.
I've never played this song before, but I immediately thought of it when it was just night with Jim, mainly for the chorus. And the chorus is repeated about 3 times, so you'll get it, and if you want to sing along with it, please do. God, it's gone right out of tune. Not that you'd notice the way I play. That's a bit sharp. Thank you very much, that was it, it's an instrument. Well, it's a Tracy Chapman song, one of her lesser known songs. It's called I Used to Be a Sailor, so that's pretty much, you know, why I thought of it. I used to be a sailor, sailing on the sea. But now I'm just an island, since they took my boat away from me. I don't like being stationary. No, no, no. I like the rocky waving motions of the sea. And now I sit and rock behind a padded wall, hoping one day they'll fall and set me free. He wrote his epitaph, he wrote his eulogy. Said, I think I can die now, for my true love won't comfort me. Oh no. I don't like being stationary. No, no, no. I like the rocky waving motions of the sea. And now I sit and rock behind shallow waters, hoping one day they'll fall and set me free. I used to be a sailor, sailing on the sea.
fall and set me free. Set me free, set me free, set me free. Set me free, set me free, set me free. Set me free, set me free, set me free. I used to be a sailor.
Thank you very much, Connie. Liam Fitzpatrick. Yeah, well, we'll protect you. We'll get you out of jail.
Solo, actually. Can I drink or of course you can. Yeah, it's good. I can tell. The Mingulay Boat. Hear your heart bleed, let go wide, leave her head around into the weather. Well, your boys, let go, boys, sailing onward to Mingulay. What care we now? Wipe the bitches. What care we, boys, for windy weather? When we know that every inch is close upward to Mingulay. Well, you're all boys, let go, boys, keep their head around into the weather. Well, you're all boys, let go, boys, sailing onward to Mingulay. Wives are waiting on the shore, gaze and seaward round the desert. Keep their hair around and will anchor ere the sun sets on Mingulay.
Thank you, Liam. Liam Fitzpatrick. Thank you. Now Paul Steele will sing. Paul Steele was always at the cenotaph with Jim singing. He wouldn't miss it. He was always there.
This is the other Veterans of Peace cenotaph song. This is how Jim would have first heard it. 16 years old when I went to the war to fight for a land fit for heroes. Gun in my hand and God on my side, chasing my days down to zero. And I marched and I fought, and I bled and I died, and I never did get any older. But I knew at the time that a year in the line was a long enough life for a soldier. Well, we all volunteered and we wrote down our names, adding 2 years to our ages. Eager for life and ahead of the game, and ready for history's pages. And we fought and we brawled and we hauled till we stood 10,000 shoulder to shoulder. A thirst for the Hun, we were food for the gun. And that's what you are when you're soldiers. Well, I heard my friend cry as he fell to his knees, coughing blood as he screamed for his mother. And I fell by his side, and that's how we died, clinging like kids to each other. And as I lay in the mud, and the guts and the blood, I wept as his body grew colder. And I cried for my mother, and she never came, though it wasn't my fault, and I wasn't to blame. The day not half over, and 10,000 slain. Now there's nobody remembers your name, and that's how it is for a soldier.
Paul Steele, from all the way from Irish Sheppey. Paul taught that song to Jim. And Jim sang that song. Now Kurt Savage is going to sing another song which Jim wrote, Walls of Fear. And following that, it will be Gillywood, The Parting Glass. And then our final song will be The Circle.
B flat, B flat. Hi everybody. This is an Eric Bogle song originally, song of the Whale. The words Jim adapted to the Walls of Fear. In every race, in every land, the problems are the same. Inequality and greed brings misery and shame. Divide and rule is always used to keep the mob in thrall. And when resistance rears its lonely head, they build another wall. The ancient Romans and Chinese built wars of great renown to keep barbarian hordes at bay, and very soon they found that wars and moats would also serve to keep their high estate. When disaster struck, the poor could starve outside the castle gate. Now some wars are invisible and some are bricks and stone. They can be very hard to cross if behind one you were born. But refugees and deportees have no choice but to try to escape from fear and poverty. Their needs must do or die. They walled up the Warsaw Ghetto back in '43 as a prelude to the slaughter of the Jews in that city. But now some of their grandsons build wars in Palestine to steal the land that wasn't their. United Nations call a crime. In Belfast they built walls of hate, in Berlin fear and doubt. In Mexico Trump he wants a war, keep the huddled masses out. The land of the free is not so free if you're black or brown or poor. For refugees of the wall of fear it's hard to find the door. Yes, some wars are invisible and some break barbed wire and stone. They can be very hard to cross if you're hungry, poor and alone. But if you want to tear the walls to build a family man, then socialism must prevail, there is no other plan. Then socialism must prevail, there is no other plan.
Well sung, Kurt. That's a song Jim wrote for the Eltham Wall Festival some years ago. I was privileged to be able to sing it up in Wales. It's a Sweno Artistic. And we now have Gillywood Parting Glass.
Yes, when they come up.
When you come up.
We're going to try, we've got Gregory. The amazing race on the back one.
Amazing Grace. I see.
No, I'm just putting it back quite with him. I just
Oh, yeah.
just do it when the night.
In the night.
When the night, back quite with Amazing Grace. After the circle.
After the circle.
After the
Okay.
circle, Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
Do the whatever right there.
Yeah.
Back quite.
Yeah, that's great. Backfire. Yeah. Okay. Amazing Grace. Yeah, that's to do with the whiskey. That's Jack Daniels. Yeah, beautiful drive. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a song Jim said always being sung. It's been along with many other songs he's sung. This is one of them. And I'm really pleased.
Yes,
We'll
kneel in front of me, Tony. Where you belong.
Will that put you off?
No, I'm used to that.
Needs to be a bit lower, Tony, lower, come on.
So this is Gilly Wood. And before they start, I want to make a special thanks to Dave Silk on the contribution. Even though it fell down, he repaired it. And Dave Silk and I go way back with Will Gaines, jazz tap dancer, the jazz tap dancer, Ronnie Stutz, and all over the place. And from there, Jim got me into folk singing from all that sort of music.
Are you going to tap dance to this then?
I think not.
Folk dancing, maybe?
He must have been an amazing person, and I'm really sorry I didn't sort of remember him.
Okay.
Yeah. Have your glasses ready?
Of all the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm that ever I did, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. If I had money enough to spend, and leisure to sit a while, there is a fair maid in this town that sorely has my heart beguiled. Her rosy cheeks and ruby lips, I own she has my heart enthralled. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they wish me one more night to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise while you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call.